sharing scheme. Is it not showing?
Yeah, it's showing. I click on it. They said, no, I'm not putting down notes or any other thing. I'll walk us through this particular section from a link I discover would be very, 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 very useful. So I'll give the credit to the owner. You can as well check it at your own time. Career Foundry. That's the website. If you go to www.careerfoundry.com, so you could see and at your own time you could review. Now, I don't want to go into all this explanation. What is JavaScript? Why JavaScript? No. I will dive in straight into, I'll start my explanations from here. JavaScript basics. So mind you, there are other places where you can get full detail on this training, like W3 Schools, Code Academy, and Udemy and other places. You can get some of these explanations based on the way you understand it or based on what you see there. So it is up to you. You can still go there but for this particular session, I'll be taking this exactly what you're seeing in my screen here. Now, first of all, they say JavaScript basics. JavaScript is a programming language, and like most programming language, it has some basic constructs that we will look at. All right, that's an explanation there. Now, first things first. If you have done HTML and you've done your CSS, you will discover when you start, you write your CSS inside your HTML page. At the same time, you write your HTML tags. At the same time, you write your script tag inside your HTML, basically at the bottom, mostly at the bottom of your page. And if you do that, you discover your code are bogus and they are getting confused. And when you write a lot of script, you discover most of the thing is becoming clumsy. You don't even know how to start tracing. So one of the easiest way to make your coding, that is when you're designing a web page, look more organized is by using the tag script, that is the script tag. Then you link it to the source. Now, before I continue, I want us to open our hearts, open our minds to this idea. Growing up as a child, or even when you start primary school, you discover they will tell you A for apple, B for ball. At some point, they will show you table. They will tell you table. They are showing you and mentioning those names to you for you to be able to recognize those things when you see them. So if you go somewhere and you see table, you don't need somebody to tell you that this is a table. I think the first thing is daddy. A little child, they will say daddy, mommy, daddy. So the child gets to understand, okay, this is mommy, this is daddy. So I want us to employ that concept in this particular training. If you use it, it will help you, because whenever you see an object in JavaScript, go to Python, go to PHP, go to Angular, go to React, go to Node, go to Go, go to Node.js, go to any programming language. An object is an object. An array is an array. A class is a class. A method is a method. A condition is it a condition? Okay, a condition is a condition. So it doesn't change. They look alike. So imagine if you have seen a class here and somebody is bringing a Python script to you, and you look at the Python script, immediately you know that what is going on here. This is a class. This is an object. Once you see a variable, you know, though some other programs might not be a variable, you might not recognize a variable easily, because I think in programming language like TypeScript and others, when they, like JavaScript, don't have that time to start specifying maybe it's a string, or maybe it's a integer, or it's a float value and what. So those ones are somehow difficult at some point. until you get familiar, until you get used to it, you will not find it difficult. I hope I'm communicating. Please, if I'm rushing, you can as well let me know so that I can slow down. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want us to bring our mind, I want us to look at this particular training from that point of view, the point of view of recognition. Recognition. Though, don't mind some of the pronunciations. I know you don't know them, but as time goes, and I believe in this particular document, you see you see them as I mentioned them, from array to object, from object to class, and all that. All right. From the body tag now, I was trying to explain arranging your code so that it looks organized and you can easily trace where something is coming from, where something is going in. Now, one of the way to arrange your script is by putting it in a tag like this, writing the source. I believe we all know what an attribute is. So for those of us that don't know what an attribute is, anytime you see a tag like this, anytime you see an open bracket with a word inside, then at the end you now see a close tag here. Anything you see from within, I hope you can see my mouse. Anything you see within this place, from this side, anything, they can be as many as they want to be. They are all known as attributes. Are we together? So
Can
they
you
are all
magnify
known
your
as.
screen? Can you magnify your screen? Just zoom in.
Oh, it's like this. Okay. Are we there? Is it okay? I'm coming.
Yes.
Okay. Is it clearer enough now?
No, you need to magnify that.
Let me increase the. Okay. I think I did. Let me just go. I'm coming. All right. Is it bold enough?
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Is it okay now?
But make sure that anytime you get to that writing, the button of HTML, that script writing, you can just zoom in very well so that you can see the code.
Okay. Are we there?
It's okay. It's okay.
Is it clearer now?
It's okay. It's okay.
All right. So,
Yeah, it's okay.
all right. So from here, within this particular script tag, whatever you have here is referred to as an attribute in HTML. So once you this particular source, you are actually specifying the path to your file. Now, if you look at the top of my screen here, you discover this is a path. So for those of us that don't know what a path is, it's just like an address to a particular location on your computer system. So wherever you have saved this particular JavaScript file, you can link it there. Now let's move to the next part of it. They said you put it after your closed body tag. I hope you can read. Please, let's just take your time and read through my screen, or should I go ahead and be reading each one after the other? Hello? Are we there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So from here, it said, now we've linked our script file in our HTML. Just make sure it works. If the path is not correct, it won't work. That is what he's trying to say. Now, inside this JS file that we've created, that we've linked already, we are calling a function or a method. This particular script here, this particular line here, it can be referred to as a method or a function. Now, in this place, this word alert here, it's like a library. It's part of JavaScript library. It has already been written. Whatever you are seeing here is the same way as any other function we will write. But this one, JavaScript themselves, they've actually written it as part of their own library, as part of their own script. So all you have to do is just pass the message inside the method. Now, anywhere you go, whether in JavaScript or in JavaScript or any programming language, Python, PHP, whenever you come across a text, after the text you now have a open bracket, then you have a even with or without this particular semicolon and the word. Whenever you have a open bracket and a closed bracket, just know it is a function, meaning you are calling a particular function. Something has already been assigned or has already been designed to perform a specific task. For instance, let me go through my screen. I was actually doing some work before now. Okay, this is, are we there? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Dangerous.
All right.
Dangerous.
See your screen.
Okay.
You see.
Yeah. So this is basically Angular JS. This is basically Angular JS script. Now, if you look at it, what you're seeing here is a function. It's everything. Anytime I call this particular word, everything that is within this object, this particular function, from this curly bracelet down to the closed bracelet of it, everything here is going to be every action here is going to be executed. So that is the same thing as now in your Java, that alert there, Java have already written something like the JavaScript, those that wrote the library has already written something like this. They've already written something like this as a function for you. All you have to do is pass. Then they have their script inside here. So any word you type in there on your HTML page and send it, it is coming with this variable and is going to be executed in their library. So anywhere you see it, it's a function. There's no difference between this one and the alert you see there. Because if I want to call this particular save SMS function, this is where I'll call it. If you look very well, you see, I just wrote save SMS and I just put the open bracket and close bracket. So anywhere, the same way if you come to PHP, when you come to PHP, you see this is a function, the same save SMS function. Are we together? So by this, I believe you've been able to see what we call, we'll be able to, anywhere you see a function, you should be able to identify that this is a function. If you don't see bulk code inside it, it simply means you are calling it from somewhere. The bulk code has been written somewhere else. All right, so let's go back to. So basically, this performs an alert function. Immediately I refresh this page, you saw. Okay, let's give result and see what it will bring up. This one not taking time. So this is supposed to give us an alert saying hello world. Okay, that's what we have here. It's similar to this, but if you look at the downstream here, this is what he explained. He said hello world has been printed out. Are we together? All right, now he's explaining this alert box that you've seen there. Okay, now let's move next to variable. Yeah, it's a variable are friendly names that hold data. For those of you who are still in 100 level, 200 level, I think by 200 level you should have done something. You should have read any material that talks about variable, one of the materials. Okay, now the variables are friendly names that hold data. Think of how you call a person by their name as opposed to human. Instead of calling them human, or one head, two eyes, one nose. Instead of you just calling somebody like that man, that boy, So basically, the work of a variable is, in my own term, is you intend to send some things. Let's say you intend to send something from somewhere, but you don't know if that particular thing will be A or Mr. B, or will be Mr. B or Mr. C. So you just need something to just stand in that place, so that whenever they come around, that thing will hold them and represent them, because they are not static. They change over time. So if you are sending something from your HTML page down to your server or to your JavaScript you need a variable. Thank God for SAS that is allowing CSS now to hold variable as well. So basically, you need a variable, because if somebody is enter full name as Kayode, one another person will be entering his full name as Sunday. The other person will be enter his surname as Kemi. So you don't want the system to be expecting Kemi alone. You want the system to be expecting anything the user wants to impute, and that is where the variable comes in. Now let's look at this very example. In Java, you VAR, no, no, var or var, VAR. Call it var. Don't know what other people call it, but me, I call it var. So hello world. Now what this is doing is world. If you change it to any other word, it is the word that the variable greetings. So anywhere you call greetings, that is the word that will display there. So if you log into your Now portal, there is a variable holding each student's name. That is why if me I log in Kufre, when I log talking about. All right, let's move on to next. So variable at all level. In other programming language, you when you want to develop, you name your variable. Say you something like this. You have something like this string. If it is defined like this particular word, this particular statement is not expecting any other variable type. It's not expecting any other data type. If you send a number to it, you get an error. If you send a float value to it, what do I mean by a number? If you send any number, you will get an error. If you send a float value, when I say float value, something like this, you will get an. In JavaScript, I think it's more flexible. At the same time, in JavaScript, hello, yeah. Is somebody saying something? Hello, are we there?
Yeah, we're here.
All right. So, at the same time in JavaScript, you can as well deem your variable as this for numbers. So it's very flexible. You just put it, or you use the word let when the variable is defined. All right. So let's move to the next here. So you see, this is just running the. So instead of using the hello word, now he replaced it with the word greetings. Now whatever you type in here is what will appear. Whatever you type in here is what will appear. So like this class is not practical enough. Let me just take my time and pull a file. Alright, let me change this to my HTML. Okay, I'll be doing this. Okay. All right. this. Sorry. So my desktop. Save this. No. No. Okay. Sorry. I have an index here already. Which index is this? Yeah. Trash. Modify this particular.
Your screen is blank.
Okay. My screen is blank. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet. We can. We cannot. We have not seen it.
Oh, I'm coming now.
No, can't see your screen.
You can't see your screen.
Wow. I just got something now.
Go back to the Google Meet.
Okay, like answer it. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Alright. So I just wanted to let me hide it. I think I mistakenly closed it here. Alright, I'll put it. So I just wanted to write this so that we that's it. I need one.
Go cover.
All right. Now, if you notice, you discover that JavaScript runs first before your HTML. You have to edit after you finish the. You see, when I refresh the page, this one is up until I attend to this particular alert before every other thing will come forward. And for those of us who don't know, this is how you write JavaScript. You know, most people just write Java and just write it with small letter. It is very, very important when you're writing JavaScript, you write this is how to write JavaScript, Java with the capital S script. All right, let's move on to the next on our agenda. I think I'm taking much time here. So, when I executed this particular script, you discover here it is. When I executed the script, it said greetings, hello world. If I decide to put hello Kufre, this is not the more practical as possible. Here, it has changed from hello world to hello Kufre. Alright, let's move on to the next. Now, we are working with variable with numbers. See what we have here, like I explained to you earlier. This is a variable, so we expect that age, we are expecting a number variable, number data type, not a string. We are not expecting string from it, we are expecting an integer, my bad, integer data type. Pi now, we are expecting a float. because we are having 3 points. So this is a float data type. Even in your server, if you want to do your MySQL server, when you are setting the variables, you set it as integer or you set it as a float type. You get there. That is for server side script. So you can as well copy this and run it on our live script. So you see now, lest I forget, as a developer, there's one particular function you always want to make your friend. There's one particular function I encourage you to always make your friend. It is there in every programming language. You always have it, and the name is called console log. Okay, let me just go ahead and use my shortcuts. Console log. Though other programming language, we have different name for it, different structure. Different name basically. But I think the word log will always be there. The function of this particular method, I still want to call it function again. The function of this particular method is, this is what it does. Look, I'll be bringing in these greetings here, and I save it. Just before I'll execute my script, I'll right click on my system and I'll go to inspect. And when I come to inspect and I come to console, the word said console log. And what do we have? Console, a log. So when you refresh it now, this is what you get. The reason why I said you should make this particular method your friend, this particular function your friend, this particular method your friend, is because it allows you to debug. It helps you debug. If you are sending something to the JavaScript and you're not sure if it is going or not, the console will always tell you when there is error, when there is no error. How am I sure? Let's check if this particular page is having some error. Can you see? Now I'm going to console. It's telling me every error. It's showing me every error and how I can trace them. And where they are from, which file they are coming from. So if you look at this page, I'm seeing this error because I downloaded this page offline. So as you can see, it's telling me where this particular file is, where the error is coming from. So I would advise, when you are coding for easy debugging and easy tracing, you try and use that particular function called console log, most especially in JavaScript or any JavaScript like kind of programming language, likes of React, Angular, Node.js, and what have you. Even in your Python too, you use the log. Even in your PHP, there is log, but PHP log will not bring it to you on that screen for that particular text. So anywhere you see this particular this open quote and double quote and single quote, you know that it is being used to pass a string. Sorry, this one is even giving me error. It is not TypeScript. Read it. Class most of these things, because as soon as you leave this class, you will see it in any programming language. You will see these things there. When you see them, you'll be able to recognize what they are, what they are used for, and how. As anywhere you see them, you know what they are doing, because that is the only way you learn fast. That's one of the way you can learn fast and be able to interpret code when you see them. Now, let's not forget this part. JavaScript, though, unlike PHP, I believe even if I don't put this particular semicolon, JavaScript will run. It will run. Did you see? It will run. Okay. The text is black, so you can't see the distance. Sorry, you don't see a color. F. All right. So you discover it is still run.
Please, Mrs. Speaker, please, can you zoom in the font? You cannot see the code very well.
Oh, you can't see the code.
Yes, it's too tiny from afar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the way. Okay, I'm not sure if it's going to
You
work.
can zoom it yourself.
I'm coming. I think there's a. Okay.
You use
Yes, you can zoom. There is zoom on VS
Pro
Code. You can zoom.
Yeah.
or Zoom, just normal.
Okay. I heard that person say mistake. All right. I am
It's
not
better.
Mrs. I am Mr.
Ah,
Yes, that my
your
voice.
voice looks feminine. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes. All right. Is it clear now? Can we see now? Or should I do a little bit more?
Yeah, you can do a little bit more.
All right. Let's see. How about now?
Yeah, it's okay at least. Everyone can see it clearly now.
Okay.
Even if
So,
someone using glasses can see everything correctly.
all right. So
Yeah.
if you remove this, so let's not forget there are some programming language that they don't joke with this particular break. You know, it's called a break because it tells the system that you've ended this particular line of code here. If you do this, if you don't put this guy in PHP, I bet you anything you write. Sure, just look at this now. I'm already getting an error here. I'm already getting an error. So some other guys they really need these guys to work. And if you don't give it to them, they'll give you error. Alright, but in JavaScript it runs. It doesn't look at that, but it's very important you take note of this particular symbol. It is very useful. Now alphabet. Now so I can either write my string like this. I can either write my string like this or the other way around. Whatever I have there is David. So whatever I want to write, I can put it there. Alright, that being said, let's move on to next. What will we have here? So don't forget to always work with your console log. If you get very familiar with this particular side of your Chrome, seriously, you enjoy coding because it will help you see what is coming in and going out of your server and all that. Alright, back to the code. Back to our trainer. So like I was saying now, also note how each line ends with a semicolon. This isn't strictly needed except for some specific case, but it is best practice to use them, so we recommend you do so. That's what I just explained. Now let's go to arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operator in every programming language, arithmetic operator, they are the same. You know, they change. They don't change. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But the way they are being used differs. So that is why we'll be looking at them now. You said, okay. Now we want to alert this particular statement. Let's go to the practical ground. So after this, we want to say 2 plus 3. Let's go and after the first one, the second one, 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. So arithmetic operations is just basically your basic arithmetic, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3. Now, there's something about arithmetic there's one of this particular arithmetic operator that is used, that is used for something else in JavaScript. For instance, let me come back to my greetings. You see this hello Kufre. If you do like this, what it simply means is you are joining these two words together. So in a situation whereby you need a variable 32, you want to say, okay, let's say I want to say this is a pi variable. Okay, let me say this is a pi. Okay, let me call this is a pi variable and I say plus and I call pi there. So the reason why this particular arithmetic operator is being used is for you to be able to put your variable in a string, along a string, so that you can be able to pass out the information to the person that this particular variable you deemed, this is what it is. For instance, now if you see what I've written here, let me run the code so that we see what is there. Now, you see, hello, Kufre, the space has been taken off because I didn't put space in any of the text. We'll get back to that. Now, look at it. Okay, sorry, console log. Let's go back to console log. I log it. I log it. All right. Sorry. Let me drop everything I want to do. Then let me log this guy. All right, I've saved it. So let's come back here. We said in our console log we have this is pi. You see, this is the same value we put there. So in order for you to be able to spill out a variable to your client or to anybody, a message, you're passing a variable or a string out, and maybe you have multiple strings, you want to just merge all of them together. Let's say I want to bring hello, I want to say hello Kufre, this is pi. I'll just come and say greetings. I'll say greetings and I'll put plus here. Right there. So now for me, I want to have space there. I'm going to put space here so that I'll be able to have space. No, there's no space. So that my hello world will look nice. Alright, let's come back to the script again and we'll see. Hello Kufre, there's space now. Okay. Now let's see. Okay, this one. Now our console log has said, hello Kufre, this is pi. So that arithmetic operator is used to be able to join strings and variables together. I hope I'm making sense. All right, I think we're done with that. No, okay. At the same time, on this arithmetic progression, let me see if there's any other example more other than that. Okay, this one is just trying to sum up the numbers. It's trying to sum up the numbers with variable. We've talked about console log. Now, there's anywhere you or most of the JavaScript family, like the Node.js, that is jQuery, AngularJS, React, all these other responsive scripts, they use this arithmetic operator to be able to link out, as in to be able to link your string and your variable and other many strings together. That is why they use that particular. But in your PHP arithmetic progression, if you put plus there, it is not doing the same thing. In your PHP, you want to join multiple words together. It's either you use this guy and you put your variable. If your string, if your statement is successfully updated is inside this particular curly bracelet, you discover if you use this particular variable API, it will come out, it will print it well. But if you use this guy, you see, it doesn't even recognize the API. Are we seeing what I'm saying? It doesn't even recognize it. So they vary. But since you understand what it does, as soon as you get to the environment, you'll be able to know that this is what it's supposed to do. And if it's not doing it, then you have to understand how this particular environment make use of this kind of this thing. So in PHP, you can't go and write arithmetic progression like this. You can't come and start saying then you now say you want to use plus. No, it will recognize it as it gives you an error. It's expecting to perform an addition here between numbers, not with string. So you definitely get an error here. You definitely get an error if this is not a number and this is not a number. You get an error here. So in PHP, you want to link words together. All you have to do is just put this particular dot, and there you are. So that's not the class for today. Let's move on. So that is for the arithmetic progression. That is for the addition sign. For the subtraction sign, you only use subtraction sign for your basic arithmetic subtraction, nothing more. I don't know if any other person knows, but I have not used it for any other thing apart from that. I said, okay, for linking of this particular thing, as well as my asterisk, no. Division, no. I think if you want to even bring in your division operator, you need some wedging. Okay, sorry. You need some welding, something to weld it for you. Alright. What am I doing? Where is it? Oh, that one is. Let me not go down there. Alright. After which, now there's another thing they use the operator for. For instance, I can have a variable like this, and I'll call this 0. I don't know how many of you have seen this word for this for statement. If you have seen this statement for, so I'm going to use the word index here. Okay, no need, it's already here, it has already been defined here. If you have seen this for statement, anywhere you see this for statement in PHP, in anywhere, no, PHP don't have for. No, it has, but basically you use more for each. It's not PHP statement, it's for each. It's for each. Same thing, you can still get for Python too. Now let's just continue with JavaScript. You said let index equals to 0. You are starting your counting from 0. You discover that this index now, it is referred to as a number. Its data type is number, nothing more. It's not expecting a string there. And that is why you have the index. You're saying 0. That is now the an array. I don't have an array here. Okay. Let me not go there so that I don't jump the class. The reason why I'm trying to use this for to explain is because of this particular usage of arithmetic progression. I mean operator. This plus. You can have plus. You can have minus. But I've not seen star. I don't know of / no. I only know of minus or plus. So what it means is for plus it's auto increase. This same particular plus you can still use it in PHP, in Python, any other programming language. As soon as you see this particular line of code, they might have the way they define their own variable separately, in any way they define their variable, but once you see these two operators together, know that that particular thing is working. That means if you have one before, by the time it comes back, the next one will be 2. When the time you come, the next one will be 3. It's looping. So that was the reason why I brought out this, just to explain this particular. Any programming language you see this thing, you should know that it is performing an auto increment activity. Alright, let's click that. Why am I having error here? Okay, my plus is gone, okay? Alright, so let's move on. Recognition. Recognize this thing, just pay attention, recognize it when you see it somewhere and you know how it works. Now they say the comparison operator. I don't have to go down there. As you can see, this is how they look like. Are the two things equal? So what is the difference between this? What is the difference between this and when I have something like this? What is the difference between this and this? So you can't use it on a variable. It has to be a conditional statement. You use them with conditional statement like if. So your condition will be. So I don't know this. So that is pi 2 1 4 2. All right. This is it. You use them for use it for conditional statement. So what you are trying to say here is pi is the variable pi. Is the variable pi. You know, I've named my variable here pi. I said let pi be 3.12. So it simply means this particular statement is holding 3.12. Pi is holding 3.12. Now I want to know if this pi is equals to this. Now this equal to will only check. It doesn't care to know what data type it is. It doesn't bother about data type. It can be, this one can be a string. It can be in a string format. It doesn't bother. So long as the word that is inside there match what is here, it will accept it. It will tell you yes, the answer is correct. But this other guy, make sure to check that this must be a number, or this must be a float data type. A float data type, and this must be a float data type. If it is not float data type, it will, if they are not the same thing like this, it will tell you no. Let us practicalize it so that I don't do talking and then I don't want to be saying that a lot. That is very offensive. So that's why I prefer using my console log. So we have want to say yes. If they are the same thing, we'll get yes. If otherwise, we'll say else. No. All right. Let's see what our program will say. Yes. It's telling us yes. All right, let's go back and see the other one. Let's see if this guy is strange. This guy is strange. Still telling us yes. Good. I guess my assertion will be another programming language. Yes, my assertion will be another programming language. Yes. Okay, we still came up with yes. So JavaScript is flexible enough to allow the data type if you're not specifying it. But the likes of TypeScript, then you have to make sure it is. You have to make sure it is what it is. It has to be a float. It has to be a float, not just any value. So that JavaScript is flexible. All right. Now let's move on to the next. So the same thing. What we are saying here is, are the two things unequal? So most of the times you have variable, and you don't want to start repeating this word else. To me, it's somehow. So I prefer just using the statement. But what I want is, I just want to know if this thing is correct. I'll just say, if it is not, if it not be, let it not be. If it is not, don't stress me. So if it's not, just give me this error. So I don't want to be writing else. So you want to use this particular statement. You don't waste much time. You just say, if it is not. I don't want to check if it is equals to do this. I just want to say, if it is not, then just return. Cancel my code for me. Don't waste my time. Just return it. I prefer using it that way. Instead of me to write me and start saying else, do this. I'll now say, okay, yes, and I'll say else.